Well, we welcome everyone. It's 7 o'clock, so we would like to get started and call to order this Sports, Recreation, and Cultural Committee from Wednesday, June the 6th, and it is 2018. There may be some people in the audience who would recognize the date of June the 6th. I'm old enough to remember the date. It is D-Day. June the 6th, 1944. It was the beginning of the end of the Second World War. And it's the teacher in me. I just have to take every opportunity for a teaching moment. So thank you all for being here tonight. And I'm going to proceed with the roll call. The members of the committee, to my right, Councillor Timmers and Councillor Rob Foster, and to my left, Mayor Sandra Easton. And staff with us tonight are Julie Kirkolis, who is here on my right. She is the Acting Director of Corporate Services and the Clerk. And to my left, there's Shannon McKay, who is the Acting Director of Community Services. And in the corner back here, there's Sarah Ann, who is the Associate Director of Recreation and Culture and Specials Events, and Laurie Laird, who is the Acting Manager of Community Development, Museum and Culture. And in our audience here, Sylvia Bebin, who is the Events and Program Facilitator of Museum and Culture, Lisa Mercier, who is the Curator of the Museum and Cultural Center, Beth Labrie, who is the Museum Interpreter, and also with us is Eric Buchanan, and Eric is a Brock University Recreation Leisure Studies graduate, and he is on a 4-month internship with the community services of the town. That taken care of, then I would ask if there are any declarations of interest from any of the committee members. There are none. A confirmation of agenda. Are there any modifications to the agenda coming from committee members? None at all. Thank you very much. Then on to the point 5 in our agenda is the delegations, and the first one is Mr. Jeff Wiltz. He's from the First Beansville Scouts, who will be providing a presentation and overview on their community programs. So Jeff, would you please come forward, make sure that the red light is on your microphone, and proceed with your presentation.
Okay, so First Beamsville Scouts, and what we're going to talk about, a little bit about the history of the Scout program, community involvement, the facilities that we're using, the various different sections that make up our program. We have a short video, and we'll provide you with some contacts if there's any follow-up questions at the end. I'm going to move fairly quickly, but feel free to stop and ask any questions if it seems appropriate. So, a little bit about Scouting itself. It's ages 5 to 26. It's open to both boys and girls, and we are actually the most active group in the entire Fruit Belt area, and we have an excellent group of both girls and boys represented through all of our different sections. Sections include Beavers, Cubs, Scouts, Ventures, and Rovers, and we actually have people in all groups for the first time in a while. So a little bit of the history. Scouting goes back in Beamsville all the way back to 1910. It has been at its current location on Spruce Street since 1954, although we did have a brief period that we were meeting at several different churches while the new building was going up. Our group has had an estimated 2,500 youth come through since 1954 when we moved in on Spruce Street. We actually think that that's a low number, but that's the number that everybody's fairly comfortable with. Our group currently has 85 registered youth and 19 leaders and volunteers, and those numbers we actually would be higher if we had more parent volunteers. Some of our sections actually have waiting lists for them. The program runs a minimum of 4 nights a week, and that's September to June. We also run a whole series of different ad hoc events and activities throughout the summer. Mondays and Tuesdays are Beavers, Wednesdays are Cubs, Thursdays are Scouts and Venturers, and Rovers meet wherever they can and whenever they can. And at least one weekend a month is some sort of an adventure activity. And anybody who follows us on Facebook gets an overview of all the different things that we have going on. We're quite heavily involved in the community. I'm not going to drain every single thing on the slide here, but we are quite heavily involved with the Lions, who are our sponsor. We're involved with a number of Town of Lincoln functions. You can often see us at various different events and activities. We're involved with some functions going on in Grimsby, in particular at the Santa Claus Parade. We've been involved with that for years and years and years. In the past, we've been involved with the Vineland Art Fest, also even doing things like clips in around the roads and such for Earth Day there. And then we have a number of scouting functions as well that we do out in the community. Bottle drives, car washes, various different cleanups at parks, trails, Apple Day, trivia nights, tree planting, you name it, we're kind of all over the place. So a little bit about the facility. The facility itself is on Spruce Street, right beside the high school in Bonberry Park, and it is an absolutely fantastic setting for us in that you go by any weeknight and you will see all kinds of kids out doing all kinds of activities in the park itself and in the building, and it is a wonderful location. Activities that we have include outdoor cooking, outdoor life skills, campfires, high energy outdoor games, you name it. We built a pumpkin chunker that we're chunking pumpkins in the park earlier in the year. We hold barbecues there, you name it. So I'm just going to walk a little bit through the sections and what the Beavers do, what the Cubs do, what the Scouts do, as the program is actually geared for all the different age groups. What do Beavers do? Well, Beavers are sharing. They're the cute ones with the vests and the hats. They do a lot of singing, crafts, science experiments, nature appreciation, building friendships, games. They do overnight camping, both in tents and indoors. Lots of different visitors come in to meet with the Beavers, and the Beavers go to a lot of different places around. Everything from visiting local zoos to going to maple syrup places to going out and seeing how honey is made. Cubs, what do our Cubs do? Cubs make little Cub cars, those little racing cars that you've probably seen. They also do cooking on campfires. They do hikes, canoeing skills, knots, first aid, community projects, music. And the Cubs are a very, very, very busy group, and you'll see them out in the community at various different events and activities. Scouting. Scouts are the 11 to 14-year-olds. They are into absolutely everything. Knots, pioneering, camp crafts, rappelling, STEM is a big part of the program. science, technology, engineering, math, group problem solving, survival skills. A number of our scouts went through and became certified scuba divers through the scouting program. A number of them became certified in first aid through the program. And scouts, they continue to meet throughout the summer as well on a variety of different activities. As a matter of fact, they'll be down at Charles Daly Thursday doing some canoeing. Ventures. Ventures are the older teens, 15 to 18. Rock climbing, rappelling, rustic interior camping, backpacking, woodworking. They're making canoe paddles right now. Citizenship, community engagement is a big part of the development. Zip lines, outdoor cooking, music, art. Really, it's a very well-rounded program that we run for the Ventures. And Rovers. So Rovers are the young adults in the group, 18 to 26-year-old. Our Rovers are very much heavily involved in international scouting. All three of the Rovers there went to Iceland. Some of them have traveled throughout Europe representing scouting. They also participate in events all over Ontario. Big into hammock camping and community projects as well. Sorry about that. And just a quick little video that hopefully will run. I don't know if the... So hopefully you can see that we actually have a very, very active and vibrant program here in town, and we appreciate all of your ongoing support and help with the program. And if you do have any suggestions or would like the Scout troops help with any particular activities or projects, please feel free to let us know, as we are always available to help. So any follow-up questions, please feel free to ask.
Jeff, thanks very much for your presentation. Are there any questions of Jeff from committee members? Councillor Timmers?
I don't really have a question, but I have some comments. So
Sure.
I just want to say I was really happy you're coming tonight, and to everyone in the audience, thanks for coming out tonight. I'm a faithful follower on Facebook, and today that video that was on there about your barbecue, fabulous. I love that video, and I tried to share it, but I couldn't copy the link, but it was really well done. And then I did read all through your programming, and I'm really, really impressed. Like with the, all the different age levels, all the skills that you're teaching, the life skills, the confidence building, leadership, they're all like skills that have a lifelong influence. And you're doing really great work, and I think we're really fortunate to have you in our community. And to all the volunteers and the parents that help, like, kudos to you for giving your time, because this is really a fabulous organization. And it also made me think about resilience. These young kids coming up, they're learning lifelong skills that they will take with them. I just want to say one comment. When I saw the hammock camping, I cringed a little bit on that. So you're sleeping in hammocks?
Oh, yes.
Tell me
Yeah.
how that works. No tents.
Yeah,
You're
no
outside.
tents.
Do you get a bug net?
Yes, most of our hammocks have bug nets, and we have hammocked as cold as -22, and
Wow.
we hammock camp. Well, we camp all year round. And if you'd like to try a hammock, we can probably
I don't think
find
so,
one,
but maybe
for
you could
too.
share a video on Facebook about the hammock camping.
Oh, certainly.
But great job. Thanks for coming out tonight, and really, really great. You're getting kids out, you're getting them active, they're doing outdoor things that maybe they might not have a chance to, and I think it's just great, and I'm really happy. Anyway,
Great.
thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? Madam Mayor?
This is twice this year that we've had First Beamsville Scouts here. And I just want to congratulate you all on the work that you've done. You really have captured this whole sense of belonging that is so important, that people have expressed in our value statement: place to grow, place to prosper, place to belong. It starts with children this age, and to have the Scout leaders with the wide range of ages that you have really speaks volumes to the quality of what you have to offer and what individuals, what adults get out of this as well. I want to thank you so much for planting 27 trees and adding to the canopy in town, and such a variety of trees as well. And also the pollen garden, the pollinator garden. That is going to be such a terrific addition as it grows as well. And I'm so glad that you were able to stay at Bonberry Park, because it in itself, with its past history and just where it's located in town, it is so central for young people to be able to get there and to really work through that active transportation philosophy that we're trying to grow here at the town. I wonder what your plans for the future are. Would you grow if you had more leaders?
Oh, yes. Yes. And more facility space. So all the ones who you see in blue shirts, we actually don't meet at the Scout Hut, because the Scout Hut is in use 4 nights a week. So we actually rotate around to other facilities throughout the area. Sometimes we meet in Vineland, sometimes we meet in people's homes, et cetera, because the hut's already in use 4 nights a week. So it makes it a challenge for the older kids.
Right. Well, that's certainly something to keep in mind. And I suspect you're looking for outdoor space as well.
All the time.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, and
Thank
thank
you.
you so much for coming today.
And thank you for your ongoing support.
Anyone else? No? Okay, thank you very much, Jeff. It's been a pleasure having you with us tonight. This scouting has a great history in our town, and I want to personally thank the volunteers, that a whole horde of volunteers that provide these programs for our young people. And a special thank you, too, for the contribution that took place during our bicentennial, or not bicentennial, 150th anniversary with the planting of the tulips here at the town hall. So thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Is the group planning to stay for the rest of the presentations? Because if not, we can give you a few minutes to leave if you want to, or you're very welcome to stay for the rest of the agenda. Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Well, committee members, we have a second delegation. Committee members, this is Ms. Carolyn Hoxie. She is here.
Hoxie, yes.
Pardon?
Carolyn Hoxie.
Hoxie, yes. She's here to make a presentation on the Cave Springs update on the Legacy project, and you can see this on your the input part of your computer in front of you. Go ahead, Carolyn.
So if you can bear with me, I come from a long line of teachers too, and I have a bit of story and education to tell as well. So I want to tell you about Legacy Hall Project, our Vision 2020. It's to build a four-season community accessible building for community members to grow, gather, learn, reflect. In building the vision, we want to start this project pretty close. We're to signing the contract. We're in the middle of a soft campaign right now. We've raised Mary's, and I think last time I told you we were at 750. We're now almost at 950. So the funds have been growing in order to go ahead with this project. But we thought it was really important to come in town, talk to Town of Lincoln because of the history with the Town of Lincoln itself. So we hope to do the shovels in the fall, this 18, finish the building by 19, and have it fully rented and accessible in 2020. The reason that we feel so confident in that is if I give you a little history of it. So in 1906, it was the end of World War II. The men and women from the local congregation, and it was areas then it wasn't Niagara Region, gathered to find a place where families and children could gather and heal. And it was Dr. Harry Upshall from Vineland Research Director at the time that led the search for the properties, and they selected 3 properties, but eventually decided on the property in Lincoln. For those of you who are familiar with Cave Springs Camp, it's between Vineland and Beansville. Yes, just off the old highway. They selected it because of its unique geographic flora, and also it has its own water system. It's about 17 acres, and it butts up against the Niagara Peninsula Authority lands. Here's a picture of some of the early work there, the men stuffing the mattresses and building what would have been the pond where people swam in. And that's when our first evolution, when we built our 3-season building. Take it to 2020, and we want to build a 4-season building that connects to the existing 3-season building. We have 8 outdoor cabins. We also have a pool and a high ropes facility and an outdoor education chapel area. That's what the buildings will look like when they're adjoined. That brown speck that you're seeing here is the location of the Legacy Hall. Its upper floor will look towards the Niagara Escarpment, and the kitchen upstairs will look towards Lake Ontario. You can see in that circle of cabins there. So here's the upper floor. Be a huge community hall that would seat around 120 people, I think the architect told me, and then the kitchen is to the right. There'll be a couple offices and also a nurses or teachers facilities. It's very much set up for a classroom or any small group. Down below is 8 rooms that sleep 4 each, and another hall with, you can see the graying part is the concrete patio on which people would come in during the various weather stages. It's that saying, there's no bad weather, only bad clothing choices. So I have a video here to show you a thing. One of the things that's been really unique about Cave Springs over the years is that it's been completely accessible. So we really believe in an inclusive community group there, that every child and every adult group that wants to come through is able to use the facilities equally. And so I have a video. We were featured on Global TV. We're the only overnight camp for the Reach for the Rainbow kids. We do around 25 special needs like that every year, along with our regular campers. And why don't we have sound?
And this year's Take to the Limit, we want to introduce you to an incredible young woman who pushes past barriers every day and pushes herself to make sure that her dreams become a reality. Emma McPhee is 14 years old, and she dares to conquer the limits of most. So tonight, we want to share her bravery with all of you.
Emma has been attending Cave Springs Camp in Beamsville, Ontario for the last 2 years. They've been a partner in camp with Reach for the Rainbow since 1999, providing one-to-one counselor support to campers like Emma so that she can discover her full potential.
What do you most love about this camp?
Well, I have to say all the different counselors, new friends, like it's just somewhere you can have fun, be yourself, and like get to know other people and be like, some kids have their own little comfort zone, which I used to have, but like I kind of boosted a bit at times. I also like the swimming here, the hikes, there's just so much like, I feel a lot of it.
In 1987, Reach for the Rainbow introduced integrated summer camps to Ontario. This started the most innovative and effective models for true integration.
Providing these typical venues where our kids can just integrate with typical children, be inspired by them, and likewise inspire.
I checked the side
How
of the
would you
house.
describe Emma?
In one word, probably amazing. But if I had like a total sentence, maybe she's really funny, sweet, and caring.
Do you think she's made you try harder because she tries so hard just to do the things that we all take for granted?
Definitely, because I think I do take a lot of things for granted, and I'm probably going to try and change that because of her. So I think she has taught me a bit.
From one woman's determination grew a dedicated organization that has helped to send tens of thousands of children and youth with disabilities to summer camp, while offering much-needed respite for parents and caregivers.
Parents have the confidence in our program. They know their children will not only be accepted, will not only be loved, but they will be safe.
We need to know that our children are okay.
What makes this camp so special?
This camp is awesome. I live here for 4 months of the year. Just seeing them grow through everything they do here, it's unbelievable. I now know what I want to do. I'm going into the field of working with kids with disabilities. It makes me realize how much these kids can do, even though they may seem like they can't do as much, they can do everything.
In the words of Donna Trella, what hasn't changed since 1987 is the fact that every day a child is born with a disability or given a diagnosis of one. That's why parents and society must remember the fight, albeit a gentle one, must continue. The responsibility of changing attitudes rests on their shoulders and of agencies like Reach for the Rainbow, which battle for inclusion and acceptance every day.
In spite of these obstacles, these remarkable individuals continue to break down barriers and focus on their abilities and achieve what most would find impossible. We're not asking you for much tonight. We're just asking you to open up your hearts and support what Reach for the Rainbow does for children and youth with disabilities. So tonight, let's take it to the limit and beyond. Thanks for listening.
I chose to include that because that's just a small part of the work we do. At Cave Springs Camp, we have 500 children come in our summer program, and our off-season rental now that goes from May 1st to mid-September serves around 2,500 school-aged kids. And I don't know how to get that off YouTube. There. So we hope that when the building is built, we project that we'll be doing at least 5,000 school-aged kids. We also, people rent it for a wedding, or there's been various groups. I myself was an early adopter. I did a music camp out there for 5 years and created a scholarship fund for Buck University. So we have Parents Without Partners. We have hiking clubs. We have the cadets. Winter camping out there already in tents. They're a little braver than I am. But it's a well-used facility, and so we're looking for the support of Town and Lincoln and this department in any way that we think that we might be able to partner or work together to help keep this gem in the Town of Lincoln going for another 72 years. We have a 72-year history in this area, and we hope to continue the great work. I think that when we see all the development around us, that we have to be careful to choose the kind of development we want to keep in our area. And I think this is the kind of development I'd like to see in this area and stay. Do you have any questions for me?
Thank you very much, Carolyn. Any questions from committee members? Mr. Councilor Foster?
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I'm a member of Trinity United in town here, so, or at least I'm a poor member of Trinity United, but we were very, very active for a number of years, and we on occasions were out using Cave Springs as well. So is Cave Springs actually still part of the United Church family? Like or how, or what, where's it, or what has it gone to?
Cave Springs Camp Corporation is at arm's length from the United Church, but United Church still owns the property. If we were to cease to exist, it would go back to United Church.
Okay.
Yes.
Obviously, there's an election and stuff coming up this fall, and of course, when are you actually thinking of doing construction work?
This fall. We're very close to our deadline. Yeah, we've made the decision to cancel our rental program in the fall. We had several user groups come out extremely early this year because they wanted to still keep coming to Cave Springs. It's the best time for us to build, and we feel that the time is now. The problem with so many camps is that they operate in a short season, but they still have 12 months worth of bills. So we believe that this is a model that works for, it's respond to the community around us need for the facility, and also allows us to keep the camp programming and also the school kids going through, and the many different ways the community has used the buildings over the years.
Okay. Just as you're going into it, and I mean, this is certainly not stating a fact on behalf of council or anything, but my recommendation would be to talk to the town about relief from some of the charges that you're going to have coming along. We have done it in the past, but I know the town looks at it on a case-by-case basis, particularly around charitable organizations. So it certainly wouldn't hurt you to at least ask in that area. So
thanks for that suggestion. I appreciate any support at all from Mary Easton. Attended our open house in September, and we were really thrilled to see her out. It was a good to the people and the committee members and the people that are helping that we saw the mayor come out.
Anything else from the committee? Mayor Easton?
Thank you very much, Carolyn. And this is such a long road for all of you. I mean, I'm another poor member of the United Church of Canada. So we're not poor, we're just weak members. But, you know, sometimes your basic faith comes back home to support your community in different ways. And I know that the programming here at the town incorporates a lot of the values that Cave Springs Camp has always emulated. And I would encourage you to also try and develop a relationship with the sport, recreation, and culture staff, because up until now, and I think it's the reason why this is such hard work, is that catering did become invisible. And if it hadn't been for the fact that the Conservation Authority was starting to do some more economic development on the property, we might not even realize that there was such a wonderful asset for the whole community. I'm glad the United Church of Canada hasn't given up on it altogether, but it is certainly a beautiful piece of property, and what you're doing to it is certainly enhancements all around. So we'll certainly consider what it is that you're asking, and although you weren't asking it, but Councillor Foster did mention, and we have done that before. So I would encourage you to stay in touch with us. This is an important project in our community, and you have a pool.
Yes, I'd love to work closely with Town of Lincoln. I think really it was well chosen. You have a gem in this whole area. Little disclosure, my mother was born in Vineland in one of the birthing houses, and my grandmother was raised in a fruit farm in Jordan, actually. So I know this area well. And it is exactly the space, even though it's used from all around Niagara region, it really is a jewel for Town of Lincoln, and I'm sorry they lost touch with the town. I know myself that when I went to the committee, I said, you have 17 acres of the most prestigious land, and we need to make sure that it's still here in 10 years serving the community. I think that it's nice that we have suburbs and other facilities, but you really have to think community space where the people gather.
Well, kudos to the amount of money you've all raised, because that in itself is really quite an accomplishment.
We're working hard.
I'm sure you're going to reach the end goal. Congratulations, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you for having me tonight.
Anyone else? Well, Carolyn, thank you very much. Appreciate you being here and giving us this information. And I would just iterate some of the comments that were mentioned, that we would very much like to keep in touch with you and what your organization is doing, and that we will have a motion to accept your information, and then staff will be in touch with you on an ongoing basis to see how we can work in a partnership to realize your dream on this.
That'd be excellent. I'd love to work with the Town of Lincoln.
Yeah, well, we will make sure that staff is aware of that, and the conversations will continue. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And council or committee members, I have a motion that is moved by Councillor Foster and seconded by Councillor Timmers, that the presentations received from the delegations are to be received. Any questions to the motion? In favor? Motion is carried. At the beginning of the meeting, I forgot to mention any regrets, and obviously Diane sends her regrets. She's working tonight, and as the vice chair, I'm sitting in her place, and the CAO is away on vacation, so he sends his regrets as well. There is no correspondence tonight. We'll move into the reports. The first one is on page 27 in your package. This is a report providing information regarding the June is Recreation and Parks Month. Sarah, this is over your signature. Is there anything that you want to highlight in your report before questions from committee?
Thank you. There is not a lot of highlights that I'd like to bring to your attention other than the boards that you can see over there. There is a number of visuals that we've brought for councillors to see this evening, and I'll ask you to take time before you leave this evening to see some of the events that are happening specific in June, but also they'll also speak to the special events development report that you see later in the package as well as the museum update report and all the great things that our staff are working on. So I wanted to share those with you tonight. You'll see them on our website and on our social media as well and out in the community. Thank you.
Any questions to the report?
Mr. Chairman, question that I have is really around, this is being presented now, and so it's really a message for people to be introduced to this new concept, that there's going to be more programming and what that programming is going to look like. And there's also an element of volunteer involvement and youth involvement in some of the decisions. So I would just like to hear more about that framework, because it's really that framework, I think, that's going to establish the sustainability of these programs. So I'm not too sure if that's going to come from, who it's going to come from, but that's basically my question.
Sarah or Shannon? Sarah, okay.
Through the chair, volunteers are certainly integral to all of the programming that we deliver in the Community Services Department. And I think throughout the town, I think we witnessed that just this past weekend at the Touch a Truck event. We also had a number of volunteers who recently, also on June 2nd, delivered a number of sport and recreation programs on National Health and Fitness Day. So those are individuals who reside in our community and have a passion for whether it's pickleball or Nordic polling, who came out and delivered their talents and shared those with residents. So that's fantastic, and we're very grateful for that. And we'll continue to recognize those volunteer efforts on an annual basis, like we just did during April, which was Volunteer Month. And we look to expand our volunteer program as well, and take on as many as we can throughout the community to support the work that we do, because certainly we wouldn't be able to deliver programs without volunteers.
So, Mr. Chairman, further to that, is there an interdepartment to this? Because I noticed that in the advertisement for the cycling event on the 23rd, that the bike pump is part of that. And I know that a bike pump was recommended along with the skate park, and that they're tied together. So maybe we could hear a little bit more about that. Is it a test so that people can see a bike pump for the first time and try it out? What is that all about?
Through the chair, the pump track that will be at the event on June 23rd is exactly what we would be looking to see if the community is interested and has an appetite for. We have heard from a number of users who would like to see one of those amenities in our community. And so this is a great opportunity to bring it firsthand to the community, have residents try it out, provide feedback on if it's something they would like to see, and also it's a really good opportunity for people to see a different way of cycling, because certainly we know about mountain cycling or cycling on trails, but this is another option that's available for people in a safe manner. So that's one of the reasons we've chosen to highlight the pump track on June 23rd. It's stationary, it's in one spot. We can keep all of the kids safe and see them easily.
And so that'll be outside, through you, Mr. Chairman, that'll be out in the park somewhere?
Through the chair, that's correct. It'll be behind the Fleming Center.
Oh, okay, on a hard surface.
That's correct.
Okay. And I can't really see these posters from here, but I want to comment on them, because this is really, it's not just a list of activities. There's some real life behind all of this, and I think having, you know, some talent around that type of artwork and display really also gets people pretty excited. So we know what's happening with Touch a Truck. We know what kind of effort goes into getting the community out. It really is quite exciting to see all those babies and strollers and the parents walking along all the, you know, streets, because it fulfills all of our hopes and dreams around that interconnectedness. So how are we going to get youth involved? And which groups do we think we're going to be able to attract? Do we have any sense of that at all? Just in terms of what's going to go on in the arena. How are we attracting them? Through you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can speak to that now, or I can wait until we get to that report. I'm not sure if there's a preference, but I can certainly address that right now if that would be the preference. The report further in the package regarding the skate park and the youth programming. I believe it's the next report. We will be doing an aggressive social media campaign in the month of June, right before school ends, to let youth know, as well as reaching out to the news media to get a newspaper article. And we will be sending out through the electronic flyer service with the District School Board of Niagara, as well as Niagara Catholic, the flyers that are being developed currently. So there is, I just came through our email today, actually, some promotional that we're working on with our new talented graphic designer that we have on staff. So she's putting together some really nice eye-catching graphics so that we can draw the teens in. And certainly we'll be looking at using social media as our main means of communicating with youth to get them into the facility at the Fleming Center for the summer.
Okay, well, you have to forgive me, Mr. Chairman. I'm very, very excited about this. I think this is really one of the, since the really early days of sport recreation in Lincoln, I think this is the first time that there's been a really major push on programming, particularly for that age range, and I'm really, really excited about it. I would just ask, Mr. Chairman, through you, if there's any way at all that we can reach out to children that are homeschooled.
Through the chair, we can endeavor to do that. I'm not sure how we will do that, but we will certainly, as staff, look into what process we can use to reach out to those children for sure. And we are certainly looking at reaching out to the private schools that we have in our community as well. We had a meeting with one of them this week on another matter, and so we certainly have contacts with those schools, and we will ensure that they have the information as well as the public schools.
Great, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It's going to be a great summer with ULink available and kids being able to get on and off and move around the community. I think it's just going to be just an absolutely exciting time for kids in Lincoln.
Ms. McKay has some comments that she'd like to add to that.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you. I was just going to add on to what Sarah had said, and that is we have a great database through our museum with the school program that we run of some of those contacts for the homeschooling that we can absolutely tap into to reach out to them.
The other thing about the homeschooling too is that they do use our library system, and through the library we can reach out to those people as well. So. Any other comments on this report? Okay. Then I have a motion moved by Councillor Timerson, seconded by Councillor Foster, that report CM 1811 regarding Recreation and Parks Month of June 2018, outlining the activities and events scheduled to be held throughout the town of Lincoln, be received for information. Any comments to the motion? In favor of the motion? The motion is carried. The next report is the report regarding the Community Skate Park Development Phase 1, page 36 in your package, or on the screen. And Lori, you're going to, anything that you want to highlight from this report? Or Sarah?
It's actually me, but that's okay. This report aims to provide committee with an update regarding the status of the skate park capital project, as well as expanded youth programming pilot for this summer, which we've touched on a little bit already this evening. Staff have met with user group in the community who are interested in the development of a skate park. And we have heard from that group loud and clear that they're very excited about the project and would like to see it move forward as possible. And so staff have secured consultation services with Canadian Ramp Company, who are skate park experts. They will be in our community this summer in July and August. We are just working on firming up what those dates will be to provide community outreach, site visitation, video fly-throughs, and all kinds of really exciting information to interested parties about not only a skate park, but a pump track as well. And if you're not sure what a pump track is, I've included some pictures in the appendix. And another feature that they also offer is what's called a bicycle playground, and there's also a picture of that in your appendix in your package. So we're really looking at a holistic approach of putting in active transportation activities into our community for all ages and abilities. And the skate park user group are really excited about this. They support the consultation on all three. Typically, when looking at building these type of amenities, certainly a community would want to do this at the same time as to save cost and budget dollars. So that will be happening this summer. We will have 2 consultation evenings, again, one in July and August. There will be extensive promotion of those evenings so that people in the community of all ages and interest can come out and participate in those and help us to design these amenities and really where they should go and where would be ideal. In the interim, to satisfy the need for that user group who would like to be skating now, we are going to be purchasing 2 mobile skate park units and placing them on the drive floor at the arena in the evenings and on the weekends. And you'll see a schedule of events, if you will, in your appendix of what youth can participate in this summer. And those will be available to youth, any age really, that would like to use them, but certainly our youth user group is our biggest. Those will be in the Fleming Center for them this summer, and we will be hiring staff, trained staff who will be provide not only tips or tricks so that new youth can learn how to use this equipment, but also provide safety supervision as well. In addition to that, we have purchased recreation equipment that will allow youth to play volleyball, basketball, floor hockey, badminton, pickleball. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few. A whole host of different sporting activities, again, will be hosted in the Fleming Center on the dry arena floor this summer. Again, evenings and weekends primarily, as our camp program is there during the day. So we're very excited about this summer. As Mayor Easton indicated, it's the first time the town has really taken on additional programming like this specific to youth. We also will be lining pickleball courts on the drive floor in the Fleming Center for, as you remember, we had a very excited pickleball user group last month who came. So we will be putting a temporary pickleball court on the floor in the Fleming Center. So it'll cater to that group that was here in May, as well as our campers are very excited about learning pickleball as well.
Thank you, Sarah. Any questions from committee members? Councillor Foster?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I'm really pleased with this report and where we're going. As you know, one of the early people who was involved with Skateboard Park and moving it forward was now the late Walter Mittler from the Albright Gardens area, and I'm sure he's smiling down seeing this as some of the first movement that we have going in this. So I think staff have come up with an excellent starter and in the short term as we're going on. I'm going to recommend with the motion that we make a slight adjustment to it. And I need committee to think about this one. I don't want to see the remaining 109,000 that's been committed to a skateboard park disappearing at the end of the year, as sometimes capital does. And I would like to make a friendly amendment to this to basically state that the 109,000 that is not being spent this year be put into a special reserve, either for skateboard and or active transportation needs within the community. I happen to know, there's big interest in this bike idea and combining it along with future skateboard park and stuff like that as well. So I just think since we have made the commitment, I think it's worth putting that money away. And future councils will also have to take a look at it, and at least there'll be some monies there to make sure that we have a future with it. So anyway, I'm just hoping everyone would agree that's a friendly amendment to add to this. So
before we go to the amendment,
yeah.
Any other comments about Sarah's report? Mayor Reeston?
Mr. Chairman, I want to make sure that, because I understood in the report that that was what the intention was. I thought it was clear, but if it's not clear, if the belief is that it's not clear that that 110,000 that's left is going to survive, I don't know why it wouldn't. Why wouldn't it?
The reason it wouldn't survive, if you don't mind me, Mr. Chair, is the fact that the way capital works within the municipality, if we've gone and spent what we're doing, it's going to fall away at the end of the year, okay? So I think it's important for us to make sure that we go and make sure that it's clear that this monies are to be saved away for future use in this particular area, because we're actually meeting the objectives of the budget with what we've done here. And it's not clear what we're doing with the remaining amount of money. So I think it's important to make sure that we're very clear with that.
Okay, I think, did I sign that motion?
Yes.
It's the one with the smiley face on it?
Yeah, smiley
Yeah,
face.
you can pass it. You pass it back. Let's see what we can.
I wrote some stuff for Julie.
Well, do you want to just vote on the amendment first and then?
Okay, and before that, Councillor Timmers had a comment?
My only comment, I totally support that. I think it's a good amendment, and we want to make sure that money's earmarked and used for what we want it. I'm just a little worried with the, if we just say active transportation, that kind of opens, like, I think we want to be really specific. That's just my 2 cents on that.
50?
Because that just kind of opens it up to what could it be used for, right? We want it to be used only for this specific
Well, this is the one that
project.
the kids have been through.
Maybe just my thoughts on that.
Councillor Foster?
But we
So
want to preserve
what
the one.
I'm recommending is, as the additional part to the motion is, the motion and that the remaining capital of $109,000 be moved to a special reserve fund to be used for future skateboard and or other active transportation requirements. And the reason that I stated the active transportation, and my thinking is, if we go with this other bicycle / skateboard thing, again, those monies could be used towards that. Now, I really don't think there's too much else that is going on. I mean, I'll through to the director. I don't think there's too much else that's going on in active other than these two particular projects. But it could be even clearer, I suppose, within that. So,
Any comments, Shane?
No, there are not any other projects right now going on through that are coming out of this amount.
Okay, before we read the amendment, just a point of clarification. Is this council able to do this? It's not, is it something that is going to be, it'll be enacted by the next council, so can we do this?
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, you can. So it hasn't been adopted by council yet, and so we're totally able to take this motion the way it is and amend it as is.
But
it would be different if we took it to council and council took a look at this motion and decided, I don't like that. We would have to, there would be a couple of steps. So you would vote on the amendment. If that failed, then you would vote on the main motion. And that's how that works. But because this hasn't gone to council yet, you can amend the motions as they are.
okay, but my point is, can we commit this to the next council?
if I can add, Mr. Chair, no, we have committed these dollars already as a council. What I'm concerned about is us losing those dollars through the process of budget going into next year. So what I'm basically stating is, let's make it clear, the $109,000 is to remain to be used for these types of projects going into the future. As we as a council have committed strongly to the community that this is an area that we have active interest, active transportation is an active interest of ours. So, and I think it would be good faith to the community to make sure that the monies that we have said we are going to use are going to be used in that particular area. So that's my thinking.
Yeah,
So
I totally agree. I have no problem with that at all. I just wanted to make sure that we are within our rights to commit this to the next council.
if we put it in as a reserve on the thing of some variety,
Okay.
we're good. I mean, this is this council's money, so, okay.
So I haven't seen the amendment, but the amendment speaks to the residual of the original commitment of $150,000 to be put into a reserve account, call it active transportation, for the primary purpose of supporting decisions coming forward in regard to skate park, bike pump, and then that puts the tag on it. If in staff's mind it's not where the community is going at that time, these things do change. Is that enough flexibility? If we leave it under active transportation, is there enough flexibility in there for us to go forward with a slightly different direction? What is your thinking, Madam Clerk?
Sorry, as I break a glass. Through you, Mr. Chair. I think that's entirely appropriate. And if it comes to council and there are questions by the rest of the councillors, finance can speak to the capital portion for that financing. However, the wording that Councillor Foster is using is totally appropriate.
Okay, I just would like to ask one. I want some clarity on our capital budget rules and regulations. If there's money left over at the end of any project, what would we normally do with that?
It depends. I mean, I would need finance to clarify or confirm, but what typically would happen is that those funds could be used for other projects before we lose them. So if we don't use all of the funds for a particular project, they could be moved around to help with other projects that the department has, depending on what they're used for.
Okay, so that's the reason for this motion, isn't it? Okay, well, if we pass this, if the amendment goes forward this evening, if there is anything about the motion that is maybe not as tight as we're thinking it is right now, I don't know what that would be, what would the mechanism be for making
There's another step to the process, so we still have council where we can take a look at that.
Okay, and we could amend the motion there.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's fine. I'll be happy to sign that, to offer that level of protection.
Does this come as one complete motion, or are there two separate ones? Okay.
Chairman, I have a question.
Okay.
In this motion, it doesn't speak to the amount, the estimate of $41,000. It speaks to the remaining capital. So there's no, and that essentially sets an upset limit for the previous project. Should we be including the $41,000 in this motion, endorsing the $41,000 expenditure?
Madam Clerk?
Through you, Mr. Chair. Mayor Easton, what you could say instead of listing a specific dollar amount is the remaining funds. So instead of 109,000, it might better be suited to say the remaining funds.
Okay. All right, Councillor Foster?
Yeah.
This is what happens when you've been hanging around politics too long and you find out what happens when you're not careful with a big
Okay.
chunk of money and then you wonder where it is.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion moved by Mayor Easton and seconded by Councillor Foster that report CM 1812 regarding both the development of Lincoln's Community Skate Park and implementation of an expanded youth program as a pilot project for the Fleming Center during July and August 2018 be received as information, and that the remaining funds be moved to a special reserve fund to be used for future skateboard and/or other active transportation requirements. Any questions to the motion? In favor of the motion? It's carried. Thank you for that. Okay, we're report CM 18-13, the Lincoln Museum and Cultural Center's 2018 activities, events, and programming report. Sarah, this is you again.
Thank you, Mr. This report highlights 4 key areas of what has been happening at the museum in the first quarter. That being program and special events, community outreach initiatives, interpretation and education initiatives, and exhibits. You'll also note a number of feedback pieces in the report from not only students who have participated in our programming, but also educators, as well as a quantitative summary of visits to the museum. We're very lucky this evening that we have a number of museum staff who have joined us, who have been working diligently to expand programming and are planning quite the summer at our museum. There are some, again, visuals on the board that I'd ask you to look at on your way out this evening. And we're really excited to see the creativity that staff are bringing to the programming in the temporary location. Certainly understanding that it's been a journey for them to get here and to be as creative as possible with what they're delivering to our community. So I'm happy to take any questions if there are any, but you'll see that our visits to the museum are consistent, our events are well attended, and they are growing.
Thank you. Any questions to the motion or to the report? Really? Nothing? No? Well, that's a good sign, Sarah.
Well done.
Okay, then there's a motion moved by Sandra Easton and seconded by Lynn Timmers. The report CM 1813 regarding the Town of Lincoln Museum and Cultural Center 2018 activities, events, and programming be received as information. Any questions to the motion? In favor? It's carried. Okay, thank you. Moving right along, we're at page 50. No, 44? 50, right. 1814, information update on the special events development. Lori?
Thank you. I'll give Sarah a break. So along with all our celebration of June as Recreation Month and all the activities going on at the museum, we're also working on a number of special events. This report is just highlighting some of those that are coming up. You'll see that some of our annual festivals, including the Canada Day celebration down at Charles Daly Park. We're having outdoor movies in the park again this summer at Hillary Bald, Family Fun Night at Alan F. Kretzinger Pool. page, and gearing up and towards the fall and the winter with some other activities. In the fall, we have taken the legacy event that was the Homecoming Festival and tweaked it a little bit and called it the Lincoln Rerooted Festival, where we've done some planning on some events to incorporate Pioneer Day, Doors Open, and Culture Days to make it a similar event to celebrate the culture in times of Lincoln as the Homecoming Festival did with a new twist. So we're excited. Again, lots going on within the department, and the report highlights the events that we have planned coming up in the remainder of the year.
Thank you, Laurie. Any questions of Laurie or to the report? Councillor Foster?
Since you guys like questions, at the very end, you're talking about the Lincoln Rerooted, and by the way, I think this sounds like an incredibly good event, or at least a coordination of all the differing pieces that we have here in town. I'm curious about the very last one, Taste of Lincoln, that's on it on Sunday. Has there been some? What's the thought process that are going into that at this point in time?
Laurie?
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you for the question regarding Taste of Lincoln. We are still working out the details of that event. As you'll note, it wasn't finalized at the time of the report publishing, and we actually had a meeting just even today, and we have a couple of meetings later this week. So I wouldn't want to comment and promise anything at this point, because I'm still working with our team to identify the specific parameters of what that will look like, but we're very excited to be able to focus on bringing our community together in an atmosphere where they can connect and socialize and enjoy what's great about the community, and certainly that will encompass food and beverage, I will say, from what we do best here in Lincoln.
Councillor?
Okay, I hear you, and so I know this is sort of still a work in progress type of thing, but if I can make a suggestion as this is going on, this screams of getting service clubs involved with it. I can tell you the Rotary Club would be all over some of this within this. I'm sure the Lions would have an active interest in it as well. So I think this could, how can I say this? I don't think the town should try and take on this thing entirely by itself. This is a very, very big event, and you need to have the volunteers and the active interest within the community. So I would suggest doing some outreaching relatively early to those groups, because you may be surprised, you might end up, having just the right combination of things to really make these things work very, very well. So anyway, just a suggestion back through to staff with that.
Sarah, any comments to that?
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you. Yes, we absolutely will be outreaching to the service clubs. We're in the process of developing a sponsorship package that will be going out to the community by the end of June at the latest, and certainly any partnership opportunities. We have not reached out at this point yet, but we've already identified what those look like, and the service clubs play a huge role in that. So thank you for bringing that to our attention. We will ensure that we do that.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Timmers?
Thank you, Chair McMillan. I was really impressed when I saw this logo, Lincoln Rerooted. I think it's great, and each color represents one of our areas in the town of Lincoln. I know this is a work in progress, but I'm wondering, I don't see a lot for Vineland, and I know the Canada 150 committee, it was really, we wanted to bring the entire town together. And it just seems like the majority of things are happening in Beamsville. So I'm not sure, I just want to plant that seed that we don't forget about the other ends of town. So you could just comment on that, maybe your thoughts.
Comments, sir?
How we're going to pull them in.
Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, we certainly one of our big considerations. The Doors Open event specifically, quite a few of the sites are in Vineland and Jordan, so those will be released next week. Our Economic Development Department is involved in that with us and are just identifying host sites and completing the checks and balances there, and quite a few of those are throughout the community, not just in Beamsville. So that's one of the areas that we certainly are focusing on, getting people out to all areas of the community as well. And one of the community paint nights that we're looking at hosting in Jordan or Vineland also.
Okay, that was my only thoughts, is just that everyone feels included. But yeah, it looks great. I'm looking forward to it, and it's a huge undertaking, but so far I like what I see.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mayor Easton?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I keep hearing from people about the Strawberry Festival. And I must say that Jen Smith at Cherry Lane did a great job, just speaking to Councillor Foster's point about, private enterprise or getting other interest groups involved. And I don't know whether there is, the way they did it, bringing in food trucks and just really putting a lot of emphasis. The cherries weren't even there, for heaven's sakes, and the blossoms weren't even on the trees, if you can imagine. But they trimmed them and they put them in great big buckets, and there was just all kinds of entertainment. And the celebration theme was really around cherries. And of course, we'll see that over and over again as the summer goes by. But the Strawberry Festival is not forgotten by people. And so, of course, we're never satisfied, Sarah. We're always looking for more. This looks good, but why not more, right? But that, and the bed race, that was just, granted the beds need to be in very, very good repair, but it's something that people have never forgotten, and they keep talking about it. So I don't know whether that can be part of something, and maybe there is some private enterprise that would be interested in taking that on. There's certainly enough strawberries still being grown. And I also want to look to the Friends of Lincoln's History and also the Lincoln Archives around Culture Days, because this whole business of raising money for the museum will only be successful when we are successful at including all of the cultures that have settled here. So I think we need to pay some attention to that. And the Friends of Lincoln's History are having their second house tour. And this year it is located in Beamsville. The first one was located in Vineland and Jordan. And they're putting even more into it as well. And this is a really extra special event that should really be included in here and is quite different than Doors Open. But this is just really top drawer. We're absolutely moving in the right direction. And the more people get involved, the better it will represent what the community is all about. So thank you very much for all your efforts.
Just to emphasize what you were saying about the Strawberry Festival, it really was very, very popular. And on the main street in Beamsville, and the bed races. We even had the Strawberry Idol contest, and a special Strawberry Festival song was composed and recorded. And it moved from downtown into what was the fairgrounds, and then slowly it just died away. But there are still people who talk about it, as you said, and there are still people here in town who were very much involved in the organization of that event, and they may be even interested to pick up the mantle again and carry on. But it was really a good time. Yes.
Well, certainly what Jen did was very popular, so I'm a big fan of things being done by private enterprise, because we can't do it all, and music and food always go so well together. So anyway, I just throw that out there, because it's something that is very much in the history of our town, for certain. It's pretty deep.
Yeah, just I want to add on to the mayor's comments on that. I was actively involved with the Rotary Club, looking at doing an event in the June timeframe this year to essentially try and help step into that. And in fact, you and I did have some discussions about that as well. The Rotary Club chose not to go down that road this year. They're going through a huge transition year. They've got 10 new members that have come into the club. They're doing a variety of new things, but there's a distinct interest for next year on that. So again, you know, an outreach in that area might be appropriate. I know Mike, when I talked to him about it as well, like he really thought the idea, and you know, is again not Strawberry Festival, but something that tied the community together with, you know, the berries and music and that, which seemed to be the real popular part. So anyway, more to come on that, but I think there is interest out there and hopefully we'll get to see that. So,
Any other comments to the report? We have a motion moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Timmers. The report CM 1814 regarding special events developments as facilitated by the Community Services Department be received as information. Any questions to the motion? In favor? Motion is carried. And the final report is CM 1815, report providing Parks, Recreation, and Culture Master Plan Consultant Project Award. And, Shannon, are you dealing with this one? Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're really proud and pleased to be bringing this report forward. We know this committee, as well as all members of council, were anxious to have us proceed and get this RFP awarded. I commend staff. The RFP that went out was very comprehensive and very detailed in requirements and objectives and scope. And equally, we received some very solid proposals back. So while we had a lot of uptake, we had 4 proposals that actually came forward in the end, and staff evaluated. Cost was one factor, but experience and technical and qualifications and all of those important aspects that we look for when we are awarding a consultant proposal were evaluated, and we're pleased to be recommending Monteith Brown Planning Consultants, who have assembled quite a consulting team for this very important project.
Any questions from council members or committee members? Yeah.
The town has dealt with at least Monteith part of the equation in the past, so this is very good. They do top-notch work. So,
anything else, Mayor Easton?
Well, Mr. Chairman, what I would say about this is that it's interesting how we've been waiting a long time for this to come forward, and you think that this is a beginning point. But when you don't really have a lot of stability, and we haven't had in this particular department, you're never quite sure whether you're asking the right questions. And so you're having to rely on the third party more than you want to. But when you see reports come forward like we've had tonight, where there's been a lot of thought put into the asks of council and the dreams that we put into capital budget, and then you see those projects take on a flavor that suits what experts can say about it in terms of our staff. They're the subject experts. And then they consult with more people, the youth. And you start to formulate a much more, I think, logical direction. And then council knows that the investment is a good investment. And so then you go forward to this piece, which is really the icing on the cake. And you know now that you've got this, you have a staff that know what they're talking about, that come with the right background, that have the right attitude about dealing with the public. They're not afraid to tell the council when you're not on quite the right track, which is always a good attitude to have. And so I know this is going to be a very successful report, and it'll be something that we can work with, because every one of these reports that we've heard about in the last couple of meetings have done just that. They've moved us forward light years to where we were, and this is really going to give us that substantial brace up in terms of knowledge and information about our community that we just don't have now. So thank you very much for this. And again, another big piece of work, but one that I doubt will be collecting much dust. Yeah, it's good.
Any other comments? Okay, I have the motion then. Moved by Councillor Foster and seconded by Councillor Timmers. That report CM 1815, Town of Lincoln Parks Recreation and Culture Master Plan Project Award be received as information, and that Council award the contract to the Town of Lincoln Parks Recreation and Culture Master Plan to Monteith Brown Planning Consultants for the amount of $176,885,000, excluding HST, and the mayor and clerk be authorized to sign and seal the contract documents on behalf of the municipality. Any questions to the motion? In favor of the motion? Okay, thank you. It's passed. That concludes all our reports for the evening, and just one final comment from the chair. This is, I can't remember a sports and recreation committee that has shown this type of busyness, and it surely reflects back on one thing, is stability within the department right now. The staff that we have in this department right now, and we are moving forward, not at a snail's pace any longer, but we are really moving forward. So I want to give them a real pat on the back, say thank you very much for what you're doing. It is so good to see all of this coming together. So thank you very much, staff. It's been a pleasure to read through this stuff. So thank you. Okay, then we move on to all the motions are completed. Then those motions all will, of this evening's committee will be presented to council for approval on June the 18th. Any council inquiries? Councillor Timmers, okay. Remember the rules.
Well, I think it belongs at this committee.
Okay.
Through you to Ms. McKay. If you could just give me a really brief update on the Camden Fire Hall. Are you prepared to talk to that or no?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, about 3 o'clock this afternoon, I saw our project manager in the hallway who was very excited because we have our building permit. So while work has continued, and you'll notice up there that there's a lot of site work happening, that's a big milestone for us to get that. As well, I just wanted to share with this committee that we will be posting information soon up onto the website and pictures. We have been taking regular pictures of the construction up at the site that will be able to show people who perhaps don't get up to Camden to see the development. So thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Any notice of motions then? None? Any announcements? So the agenda has been completed. I declare that the meeting be closed and adjourned.